Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar. Then we'll look at the 5-day precipitation and temperature, as although it's dry today and most likely tomorrow towards the weekend and start of next week, we could be seeing more in the way of precipitation for quite a few, especially further northwards and westwards. For the middle of next week and the end of next week, it looks like it will turn drier again. Temperatures, though, do look quite widely around or below average. A few areas could see some warmer conditions here or there, but it doesn't look great. This chilly feeling is going to be continuing with frosts over the next night or two, decreasing over the weekend with more precipitation and cloud around before increasing potentially again by the middle of next week. We'll also have a look at the mid-range, see what they're showing. Unfortunately, it does look like over the next week to 10 days there is not much in the way of particularly warm conditions. Looks all around average or below average for the foreseeable future, unfortunately. Just remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure to like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well. The link's in the description. So we do start by having a look on the live radar. You can see very little precipitation around at the moment. A bit of precipitation across the Isle of Man, up towards northern and western parts of Scotland. Nothing too crazy, just a bit of light rain, but it's quite cloudy around. A lot of thick cloud with more of a stagnant weather pattern. That high pressure has dropped slightly further southwards, and what it's done is it's cut off this northeasterly flow. So you've got less of a chilly northeasterly wind, but it has meant there's more trapped cloud, as that air is not mixing as much, so the cloud isn't moving through. It's moving very slowly, so a lot of trapped cloud around, and it does mean areas further northwards in the chillier air masses are more widely cold, and we've got less of the Föhn effect, so northwest England isn't as particularly mild anymore and has got a lot of trapped cloud around, as the air is just really a lot more stagnant. Further southwards, it's still cloudy, but closer to the warmer air masses towards Europe, temperatures have climbed a little bit higher, but it still isn't great. So we do have a look at cloud amounts first. You'll be able to see all this stubborn cloud. Again, this isn't particularly high resolution, but again, it generally does show you where the highest cloud amounts are, and you can see across parts of Ireland and the far southwest some breaks in the cloud in parts of Western Wales, but for the majority in England and Scotland and most of Wales, it is pretty cloudy. Some cloud breaks around, but again, nothing too crazy, pretty miserable out there. But luckily, as I said, it's dry. If we look at temperatures, as I'm recording this, it is sort of peak time of the day for temperatures. And you can see under that trapped cloud across the Midlands, northern England into southern Scotland, it is pretty miserable. Very little in the way of yellows and oranges. Only really along the far south coast and a little bit across Scotland. As we start in Scotland, you can see there is yellow quite plenty around. So temperatures are not too bad, but they're not particularly warm either, getting up towards sort of 13, 14 degrees. As we drop further southwards with a thicker cloud around under the centre of the high, so really with that air just stagnating, it is chilly, especially over higher ground. As I said, in northwest England, we're not really seeing that Föhn effect anymore, so it isn't particularly milder than anywhere else. So yeah, losing that benefit up towards that Liverpool area. Elsewhere, it gets milder as we head southwards. Sort of Cambridge areas looking decent, towards the London area, central southern England into the far southwest. It doesn't look too bad in terms of temperatures, up towards 13, 14, 15 degrees. So around to slightly below average, but it isn't feeling particularly pleasant under the cloud. Best conditions really across parts of Western Ireland, really. You can see more yellows and potentially some hints of orange there, but nothing too great. As I said though, the reason why the south is slightly milder than the north is because we've got quite a warm air mass just to our south. Across France, widely high teens, low 20s, really quite warm. But you head slightly further northwards under the higher pressure, under some chillier air with still a northeasterly flow, not a northeasterly wind really, because it's not doing too much of a hit on the temperatures, but a bit of a flow has meant those temperatures are a bit down. So we do now have a look at the UK Met Office run, have a look at precipitation temperature over the next 5 days. If we do run to this afternoon, you can see a lot of that thick cloud around, a few cloud breaks in the far south and across parts of Western Ireland, and that's where we've seen the temperatures increase. Over the course of the evening, there will be some cloud breaks, and that's going to allow a frost in a few areas. And by tomorrow afternoon, we're seeing cloud increase from the west as weather fronts do start to approach. Doesn't look any major precipitation yet by tomorrow afternoon. Few showers maybe over Scotland, and you can see the hints of some weather fronts out in the Atlantic. But for the majority, it's another dry day, but there will be more cloud breaks, so perhaps some warmer conditions. Through Friday evening into the early hours of Saturday, heavy persistent rain starts to push into parts of Western Scotland, Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. So these areas waking up to persistent moderate to heavy rain for Saturday morning, and that rain spreads southwards through Saturday afternoon into the evening. So Northern England, Scotland, Northern Ireland will have quite a miserable day on Saturday. It doesn't look like an absolute washout in terms of torrential rain, but it's going to be quite moderate and quite persistent. As we head through to Sunday, that precipitation edges southward, so luckily the majority of that precipitation doesn't move through in in the dark overnight, but there is still some lingering precipitation across the Midlands, central southern England, into East Anglia for Sunday morning into the afternoon, and just generally showers around under this low pressure system. By the evening, it should all clear away, and we're just left with a few showers and some thicker cloud for Monday. And by Monday afternoon, a few cloud breaks, but could spawn some heavier showers. So as I said, Saturday, Sunday, Monday is looking unsettled, but it does look like it will settle down a little bit again for the middle of the week. But you can see by Tuesday, still a little bit of low pressure around. But if we do have a look at the pressure charts, you can see, yes, lower pressure to our north, but higher pressure further southwards. So, yes, it could be turning slightly more unsettled in the north, but further southwards still looks pretty dry. And as I said, no absolute washout conditions. Yes, persistent rain for quite a few between Saturday and Sunday for sort of 6 hours as it does move southwards. 6 hours to 12 hours as it moves southwards of thicker cloud and outbreaks of rain. But it's not going to be completely devastating in terms of just puddles everywhere. It's not going to be that bad. It's going to be good for some, especially gardeners, watering everything. So it's not too bad because we do need the rain, but at the same time it is going to be persistent, annoying rain. If you do have a look at max temperatures, you'll see it is not looking great over the next couple of days. We woke up to this morning with a bit of a frost in a few regions, especially across southern Scotland and parts of Wales. By the afternoon, you can see temperatures really didn't rise that much. 16, 17 degrees across the far south coast and 15, 16 degrees across parts of West Wales. But for the Midlands, Northern England, hovering around 8 to 12 degrees, not looking great. Through tonight, could be an isolated frost here or there across Northern England, the Midlands maybe, into Northern Ireland and southern Scotland as well. And tomorrow afternoon, yes, temperatures aren't going to be great, but they could be a degree or two higher than today, maybe 2 or 3 degrees higher than today. Areas like the northwest, parts of Northern England, southern Scotland, where we see cloud outbreaks, could get better conditions, 15, 16 degrees. Again, the west is favoured. As said, even though we don't have a brisk northeasterly wind like we have had recently, it's still an easterly flow, so along that east coast it's still going to be chilly, and the further eastwards you go, the more likely those temperatures do drop. Through Friday afternoon into early hours of Saturday, could be a frost across the Midlands, central southern England, even into the London area, potentially there. And by Saturday afternoon, could be 17, 18 degrees ahead of the weather front. But that's just because we're getting a brief bump of milder air. It's not going to be that amazing because there is going to be thicker cloud. Could feel a little bit muggy out there for a period of time. But under that precipitation, it's only 8 to 10 degrees. And as that rain moves through, you can see it's not too great. And by Sunday afternoon, the far southeast, where we still have persistent rain, 9 or 10 degrees, not particularly good. Further northwards, maybe 15, 16 degrees. And that continues into Monday. Doesn't look too bad on Monday, 15, 16, 17 degrees. But as I said, there is going to be widespread shower outbreaks. And into early Tuesday, still chilly in a few spots. Cloudy in others, keeping those temperatures up. So do now have a look at the GFS, GM and ECMWF, see what they're showing over the next couple of weeks. Again, you can see there's an easterly flow at the moment, not a brisk easterly wind. Those ice bars are more stretched out. High pressure centre over the top of the UK, and a look at those upper air temperatures. You can see colder in the north, milder in the south, and that's why, even though it's pretty much the same conditions in terms of cloud amounts further northwards and southwards, because we're in a slightly colder air mass further northwards, that's why it's a few degrees colder than further southwards. So if we do go back to the pressure charts and just move it on, you can see generally high pressure is around the UK, but that low pressure, that pesky little low pressure system develops through Saturday, Sunday, bringing that precipitation, and we stay with low pressure to the north, bringing more showers around, and by Wednesday, Thursday time, we do start to bring a northerly wind in. Now, yes, we are still generally under high pressure. Could be some showers further northwards, and it's going to turn colder with that colder air mass pushing through. Bit of uncertainty how cold that air does get, whether it just is around or slightly below average, or is properly a good few degrees below average. Bit of uncertainty with that towards the middle to end of next week, but we'll have a look at that with the ensembles in a minute. Beyond that, high pressure stays out in the Atlantic. We see little low pressure systems trying to break through, and right towards 384 hours, we go into quite a miserable pattern with this cut-off low developing towards Europe. It does drop through, but it does give some heavier precipitation for quite a few and a lot of showers around. And right towards the end of the run, a pretty horrible late spring, early summer sort of pattern. High pressure blocking towards Greenland, shifting that jet stream southwards of where it should be to sort of a January-February level, where it's straight through the UK, sort of a stormy sort of level, and we just see low pressure milling around the UK, bringing heavy rain and some potentially stronger winds and cooler temperatures as well. Now, if we do have a look at the 850 HPA temperature, run it back, you can see chilly air masses at the moment. Slightly warmer air with that low pressure system moving through, and then you see that cold air spilling out of the Arctic. And towards the middle to end of next week, we do pull in that northerly wind, much colder air moving through the country, potentially giving chillier conditions and overnight frosts. Beyond that, we do see more of a westerly flow, so temperatures could be on the up, but it is pretty unsettled, so still will feel chilly, and there will be precipitation. Thicker cloud around, and right towards the end of the run, sort of a flat westerly flow. Yes, milder air masses mixing in, but it's not going to be all that great. So we do now have a look at the GM run, see how that does compare. Again, an easterly or northeasterly flow at the moment. High pressure moving out towards the Atlantic, little low pressure moving through this weekend, bringing that precipitation, and then we see that northerly wind. Again, difficult to say exactly how cold or how much of the cold air mass is going to get in, but it's going to be chillier with a northerly flow. Beyond that, as we head towards the end of the week, we do start to see high pressure build over the top of the UK, potentially doing things a little bit milder, in fact. This would be a little bit of a change with high pressure over the top, and to our east, we would bring in more of a southerly or southeasterly flow, and it wouldn't be too bad. So hints potentially of some drier and maybe slightly warmer weather. Again, we'll have a look at the upper air temperatures in a minute. It's not going to be exceptional. It's not going to be anything massively warm, but it could return temperatures more widely to high teens, low 20s, the sort of weather that we had a few weeks ago. Feeling even better though, given stronger sunshine towards the early part of May. Could be seeing temperatures maybe 23, 24 degrees and that sort of scenario. So do have a look at these upper air temperatures. Again, chilly at the moment, and then we see that low pressure move through, temporary bump of warmer temperatures, and then we see that cold air mass move through. Not as much of that cold air getting through, very marginal there, very close to that real cold air, but not quite getting it in on this GM run. So again, as we'll see with the ensemble, there is a bit of a split there. They're all showing the same sort of pattern in terms of a northerly flow, but where that air does go, where that cold air does go, there is still uncertainty with that towards the middle of next working week. Beyond that, we do bring more of a westerly flow in, but high pressure builds in with quite a warm air mass, and it doesn't go too bad. We'll look at the temperature deviation, 4 to 6 degrees above average, and I wouldn't be surprised to be seeing temperatures, as I said, in the low 20s for quite a few, or at least high teens widely. So yeah, not looking too bad on the GM run. But as we'll see, there's not loads of support with the ensembles. If we have a look at the ECMWF run, see how that does compare. Again, high pressure over the top of the UK. We do see that high pressure move out towards the Atlantic, low pressure move through temporarily, see a bit of that northerly wind, chilly air mass moving through, and then right towards day 10, we do see westerly winds trying to build in, high pressure taking back in, and we see another northerly flow, pretty chilly indeed. And again, look at those temperature at 850 HPA, again, chilly at the moment. We do see that low pressure move in with some milder air for a time before we see that northerly flow move in, some chillier air, but it is again not getting all that real cold air that's just to our north in. Very, very marginal, as we'll see with the ensembles. Before we do see more westerly flow, potentially some weather fronts in the north, before high pressure builds back out to the Atlantic, and we see a cold northerly flow. But as I said, it's start of May, so that cold air to our north is really running out, so it's not that cold. But in terms of temperature deviation, it is pretty chilly, 4 to 6 degrees below average. So we'll have to see what happens with that. You see all three runs are very different at day 10. GM and ECMWF run are completely different to each other. GM run has high pressure over the top of the UK, warm high pressure. ECMWF run has it blocking out towards the Atlantic. Up towards Greenland with a northerly flowing GFS run right towards the end of its run has got a westerly, quite unsettled pattern. So a lot of uncertainty as we head into the start and middle of May. So we do have a look at those ensembles. So we do start with the GFS. You can see around average at the moment, turning chillier after this weekend as that low pressure doesn't move in or move through, as we do see that northerly flow. And then as we head towards next weekend, we could see another one of those northerly flows move in towards the 6th, 7th of May, right at day 10. Could be seeing some very cold air with that, and that's where we have that uncertainty with how cold that northerly wind does get. Some are going quite chilly, including the GFS, getting down to -2, -3 degrees at 850 HPA. Doesn't seem that bad, but it's around 5 degrees below average. Some staying quite chilly, others returning to around average. Some going much warmer, some going much colder, and we've got a massive spectrum beyond around the 6th, 7th of May. If we do have a look at the ECMWF ensembles, see what they're showing over the next couple of weeks. Chilly over the next sort of 3, 4, 5 days. Yes, a little bit milder over the next day or two with the lower pressure moving in. But beyond that, temperatures do slowly rise on the ECMWF. Some going much colder around that 4th, 5th of May, March, so late next working week. But similarly, others are returning more milder again. And yeah, turning things around or above average for right at the end of the run. And the control run going really warm, 10 to 12 degrees at 850 HPA. That would be sort of high 20s sort of conditions. You look at that on the 2 meter temperature charts, you can see getting up towards low to mid 20s, and locally would be maybe even high 20s. If you also just have a look at the GM ensemble, don't normally have a look at this because there's not too many ensembles to look at, but you can see in the longer term the operational run is going really warm. It has some support from some ensembles. As we saw the charts, it was quite a warm run, but beyond that, quite a few are staying much colder, and the average of the ensemble members is around the 1981-2010 mean. So there's a lot of uncertainty, but one thing we can say, it is looking reasonably dry. There is a chance of us increasing precipitation if we do have a look at the ECMWF ensembles, increased chance of precipitation, but nothing too crazy. No absolute washout conditions, just likely to see some showers and persistent rain over the next couple of days, and by next week there is likely to be more showers, and again, potential for some persistent rain at times, especially further northwards and westwards. But for the time being, it's not looking too cold. It's still chilly. Overnight frosts around. Pretty dry the next day or two before the weekend. Looks like it's turning unsettled again, and then a lot of uncertainty next week. We could still be seeing some dry, frosty conditions, but we also could be seeing some more unsettled conditions coming for the north and the west. And of course, towards day 10, so towards next weekend and beyond, some are going colder again, some are staying drier and around average, others are going warm and dry. So I can't really say too much on that at this stage. But if you're looking for any major sunshine, a major warmer weather, doesn't look likely over the next week. Beyond that, a lot of uncertainty. But the next week definitely does look like it's going to be everything but warm and sunny. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.